All right, I'm live. Hang on. Okay, testing. One, two. Testing. Okay, good. It's working. All right, I'm just gonna wait a couple minutes for more people to join in. But let me just talk about my day, how I'm doing. How are you doing? Happy New Year. Um, I'm not even looking at the right place. I need to be looking here, but I'm looking here at the screens where my video is. Okay, I should be looking at the camera. But yeah, I'm just waiting for more people to join in because I got a lot to talk about today. Um, but how's everybody doing? Um, I'm really excited. I have a lot of plans for 2025. Um, so I'm really hopeful. Um, like I said before, the new year is one of my favorite times of the year just because it's like a new beginning, a new chance to start over, and I'm just really optimistic about 2025. And so far, it's been pretty good. I know it's only been a couple weeks, but I'm excited. I got a lot planned and I'm really hopeful. I'm happy. But yeah, I'm just waiting a couple minutes for more people to show up and then we'll start because there's a lot I want to talk about. Um, it's pretty interesting also. But yeah, I set out like a little alert telling people that, hey, I'm going live at 7. So I think people know. So we'll give them a few minutes to catch up. But I don't even know if like YouTube sends out an alert when the person goes live, when a channel goes live or something. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But we'll just wait for a couple more minutes. And then after like 5 minutes or so, we'll just get into what I want to talk about today. But yeah, how's everybody doing? Feel free to like comment down below so I can like chat with y'all. Um, I'm doing good. Yeah. Um, Not much going on. As you can see, I'm not in my usual location where I make most of my videos. That's because I'm a college student and right now I'm actually back in my dorm room. So where you guys see me usually making most of my videos, that's at home. Um, and I do go there every weekend or almost every weekend. So you will see the bedroom scene that you guys are so used to more often. You'll still see it, but it'll alternate between this room and the one you guys are used to. So it'll alternate back and forth. So don't miss my old room too much because you'll see it again, okay? Um, but yeah, life is going good. I'm happy. Did you guys hear about like all the crazy weather going on in the country? Like in the South, it's just snowing like crazy. In Florida, snow in Florida? That's ridiculous. I don't know. Global warming is real. Because global warming, it affects temperatures. Oh, thank you. But yeah, global warming, it affects temperatures at like different extremes. So places that are usually really, really hot suddenly get really cold. That's what we're seeing right now with like places in the South, like Georgia, Florida, Texas. They're all getting all this snow that they're not used to. And that's because of global warming. And then places in the North, which are usually cold, they are unusually hot for no reason. Global warming. But yeah. Okay, more people are starting to show up. I'll wait until we reach the 5 minute mark and then I'll start talking about what I want to talk about today. Um, but yeah, I like doing live streams. I should do them more often. That should be one of my New Year's resolutions. Yeah, but the microphone is quite away quite far from me. I don't know if like my voice sounds too low or anything. So I'm just gonna keep trying to like lean in so you guys can hear more clearly. Testing one, two. Okay. I see the bar moving up and down. All right. I'll start with what I want to talk about today. Okay. So the title of this live stream is Disney High. And Disney High is a book that I read a few months ago. Um, well, I listened to it on audiobook, and it's about the full title of the book is Disney High: The Untold Stories of the Rise and Fall of Disney Channel's Tween Empire. And the book, it talks about like the inner workings of Disney Channel and all the behind the scenes drama of the stars and the networks and all these behind the scenes political mess that most of the general public, aka me and you, would not know and did not know until it was in this book. And this book was written by man, how did I forget her name already? I need to read. Okay, let me look at the credits. Good thing I have everything pulled up here. Okay. All right. Okay. So the book is created by Ashley Spencer, and big props to her because she did such an amazing job with this book. With this book, she did tons of research because the book spans so many different decades. It starts off like in the 80s with Disney Channel's origin, and then it stops right around 2010, 2011 when Disney Channel's commercial prime was going down. So, but she got a lot of research and talking to so many different people who were working within the channel and within the network during all of those years. So big props to her. She did an amazing job with this book. And then Leilani, she narrated the book, and Leilani played the best friend Miranda on Lizzie McGuire. So that's where if you watch that show, you might know her from there. Um, but yes, she also did a great job narrating the book, and her story is talked about in the book also. But I'll get to that. All right. So, like I mentioned, this book is like a long, long, long book. So I can't say every little thing about the book in detail because one, I want you to go out and read this book for yourselves because it's really good. And two, or at least listen to the book because I listened to it on audiobook. I didn't like read the book, I listened to it on Audible. But and two, because the book is so long and talks about so many different things spanning like 4 different decades, of course, I can't mention every little thing, but I'm just gonna talk about the things that stood out to me the most. All right. So here we go. All right. So in the very, very beginning, way back in like the 1970s and before, when it came to the name Disney and the brand Disney, all people thought about were the Disney theme parks like Disney World and Disneyland. And people thought about like the old classic Disney movies like Snow White, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, those kind of movies. That's what people thought about when it came to the name Disney. That's what they used to think about way back then. And then in the 1980s, the channel was created. And from there, things just kind of took off. It wasn't a big hit right away. It took time to build and grow. And then once it did, oh yeah, I need to talk about like the earlier projects. So it took time to build and grow. And one of the earliest Disney projects was the all new Mickey Mouse Club. So the all new Mickey Mouse Club was kind of like Saturday Night Live, but for kids. Like it would feature a group of kids singing, dancing, doing little skits for a primarily children's audience, because that's what Disney Channel is. Um, and of course, these kids, they're singing, they're acting, they're dancing. And in order to be on the show, of course, you have to audition and you have to be able to do all of that. And something that they mentioned in the book was the auditioning process for the All New Mickey Mouse Club. So, a handful of kids who auditioned for the Mickey Mouse Club were Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Ryan Gosling, Justin Timberlake, and Jessica Simpson. So, of course, we know all these names now because these stars, like, went on to do big things, but this is when they were children. So, when they were auditioning for the show, um and I'll tell you who got in and who didn't. But when they were auditioning, the judges gave them like a little letter grade after their audition, watching them sing, dance, act, and then giving them a letter grade, and then moving on to the next kid. So Britney Spears, when she auditioned, her letter grade that she got was a B plus, which is really good, and she got to go into the Mickey Mouse Club. She became a part of it. And then Christina Aguilera, she auditioned, singing, acting, dancing, and she got an A, and she got to go into the All New Mickey Mouse Club with Britney. And then Ryan Gosling auditioned, he also got an A, and he got to be a part of the All New Mickey Mouse Club with Britney and Christina. And then Justin Timberlake auditioned, and he unfortunately got a B plus, and he also unfortunately got to be with Britney and Christina and Ryan. I say unfortunately because if you know Justin, on behalf of Janet Jackson and Britney Spears, unfortunately. But anyways, he is talented, so okay, and then the another person who auditioned for the All New Mickey Mouse Club was Jessica Simpson. Now, Jessica, I've heard the story a million times, but she auditioned right after Christina, and Christina Aguilera, she is an amazing singer. Her voice is like one in a million. So anybody going to sing after her, like it's just like a setup to fail. So Jessica was dealing with that pressure and she unfortunately choked during the audition. And keep in mind, these are children. So I know it's a professional setting and a professional world, but still they're children. So Jessica, she unfortunately didn't make it into the All New Mickey Mouse Club, which is all right because Jessica is Jessica Simpson now. She's like a billionaire. Her brand, her clothing brand is like a huge empire. And she didn't need the All New Mickey Mouse Club. She got good music. She got the show, the wedding show, Newlyweds. That was a fun time. Chicken of the Sea. Okay, but anyways, back to the whole Disney thing. After, the All New Mickey Mouse Club became one of the very first shows on Disney Channel, um, the show unfortunately got canceled, and then the stars that I just mentioned, Brittany, Ryan, Christina, Justin, Jessica, they left Disney, and then later on in the decade, they went on to become megastars, making millions and millions of dollars. And Disney Channel was looking at these people who used to be on their network, and they're kind of like jealous, like, you know what? We could have benefited from these people more because now look at them. They had all this potential and now they're millionaires, and we could have benefited from their success, but we can't because they're not signed to our label. They're not with us anymore. So Disney Channel they felt like they were missing out on a lot. Um, and then later on in the decade, 1997, Disney Channel changed their name from The Disney Channel to just Disney Channel. Um, they kept taking in more practices and different approaches to build their network, and it worked because in the year 1996, Disney Channel had 15 million people who were subscribed to the channel, subscribed to the network, and watching. And then that number went up to 77 million by 2001. Um, and keep in mind that Disney Channel was not something that was included with everybody's network packaging. Like if you paid for cable back in the day, it wasn't guaranteed that you were gonna have Disney Channel. That's something you had to pay for extra, like, I don't know, 15 bucks a month or whatever to have that attached to your network thing. And back in the early days, the only people who had Disney Channel were the people who, like, were parents of the kids that were on the All New Mickey Mouse Club. But yeah. All right, getting into the early 2000s, Disney Channel started experimenting with more original programming, um, more original movies, original TV shows. Um, One of the very first Disney shows that I remember, what I consider to be the first Disney Channel show, scripted and everything, is a show called The Famous Jet Jackson. So, The Famous Jet Jackson was about a young black kid who was in I'm trying to remember because even I haven't watched the show in a while, but I remember it was like he was an actor and then he got sent to, like, his hometown back in North Carolina or something, and let me see, Jet Jackson. Okay, The Famous Jet Jackson. Okay, the show is about a boy named Jet Jackson who plays a teenage secret agent on a fictional show within a show called Silverstone. Yeah. So he's an actor who just moved back to his hometown, and the show is filming there. So yeah, that's basically what The Famous Jet Jackson was about. Don't ask me, I haven't watched it in a long time, but one of the stories that they mentioned in the book was about colorism, about how the actress that was supposed to play Jet Jackson's mother, like, there was 2 ladies who were auditioning for the role. One they were both black, of course, because this Jet Jackson is a black kid, and they're gonna cast a black mother to play his mother. One had lighter skin and one had darker skin, um, and they chose like, they were going back and forth, but they eventually chose the one with the darker skin just because they felt like it was more genuine coming from her, so yeah. I thought that was interesting. I'm just going off of, like, little notes because when I was reading the book Disney High, I wrote, like, little segment fragments because I was trying so hard to pay attention to everything that they were talking about in the book, and also keep in mind that I read this, like, 2, 3 months ago, so I don't remember every little thing in perfect detail, and also, I don't wanna go back and reread it because it's so long, but I'm just gonna mention what stood out to me. They talked about a show called So Weird, which was, one of Disney's earliest shows, and it was on, they talked about how one of the original actresses in that show got replaced for the show's 3rd season, which was unfair. That actually happened a lot in the early Disney shows. People just got replaced. Well, shows and movies. I'll talk about that too. Um, Disney had an event called Disney in Concert, which featured people who were this was in 1998, so people who were famous at the time, Brandy, Ray J, Leanne Rimes, NSYNC. NSYNC, funny enough, they weren't scheduled to perform that day. The Backstreet Boys were, and then NSYNC replaced them. And because NSYNC did that one show is what led their careers to, like, skyrocket within the next few years after that. So that was cool. But because all of those performers that were featured on the Disney in Concert performance, none of them were signed to Hollywood Records, which is Disney Channel's record machine. Disney saw no money from that Disney in Concert event. But yeah, I see more people are here. Hey, I'm just talking about the book Disney High. It's a book talking about Disney Channel from its origins until modern days. So I'm just breaking down like little events that happen in the Disney Channel's timeline. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you're a big fan. Okay. But yeah, um where am I? Where am I? Where am I? Okay. The DComs, the Disney Channel original movies. So this is when we started getting DComs. So we got Johnny Tsunami, The Color of Friendship, which talked about apartheid. I never watched that movie. I understand it, like, I should watch that movie just because, like, I'm Black. I don't know. But yeah, my sister watched it. She likes it, but I never saw it, which is weird because I've seen so many DComs, especially from the early 2000s. Like Quince, that lady, that little 13-year-old girl whose mother was pregnant with 5 little kids, and she was gonna be the big sister of 5 new brothers and sisters. Yeah. But anyways, Johnny Tsunami, I remember they talked about how there was supposed to be a sequel to that movie, I believe, but that one got canceled due to an actual tsunami. Irony. Yeah. I have the notes right here. The tsunami destroyed the sequel. I remember that. Okay, they talked about Halloween Town. Do you guys remember Halloween Town, the Disney Halloween movie? I made a video about that a long time ago. You can watch it if you want, but it's not, like, of good quality in my opinion, but people liked it. Anyways, um, in the Halloween Town movie, the first 3 have the same original actress who plays Marnie, the main character. But in the 4th Halloween Town, the character of Marnie got replaced by an actress named Sarah Paxton, and the book talks about all of the hate that the actress Sarah Paxton got from replacing the original actress from the first 3 movies. Because so many people who were diehard fans of the first 3 Halloween Town movies, they hated the 4th one because mostly because it had a different actress playing the main character, and I get it. You're right to hate on the movie, you're right to hate on the crew for casting somebody else, especially when the original actress was completely down to be there for the 4th movie, but it was Disney who said, "Nah, we don't want you back, girl. Stay away." So, yeah, but a lot of fans of the original 3 movies, they slammed Sarah Paxton, the actress, with all of this hate just because she wasn't the original actress, um Kimberly J. Brown, the original actress. So, yeah, I thought that wasn't cool. People were really unhinged back then. I mean, they are now too, but crazy. I mean, we live in at a time where, like, if you don't like somebody, you can just, like, send them hate messages on social media, but back then, I'm sure you had to, like, write a message and then attach it to a brick and throw it at their house just to show how much or mail hate letters, I don't know. But yeah. Oh, okay, now we get into the Even Stevens part of the book. So Even Stevens was one of the early Disney shows. It was on from 2000, the year 2000 until 2003, and it starred Shia LaBeouf and Christy Carlson Romano, both of which were talked about a lot in this chapter. Because this is the first chapter that's talked about in length. A lot of them are, but this is the first one. So Even Stevens, first of all, they talked about how the directors and everybody behind the scenes saw the talent that Shia LaBeouf had because you can call that man whatever you want, but he is truly a great actor. He is. I'm not even trying to be sarcastic. Shia LaBeouf is a good actor. But they talked about how he always, like, when the camera was on, he'd be, like, completely in the role. His character was kinda goofy, kinda funny, he was a comedian, and he was always, like, the class clown and always getting into trouble, but as soon as the cameras shut off, Shia, like, was completely unresponsive, and everybody could tell that something was going on with him and in his personal life, but nobody knew exactly to what extent, what was exactly happening. Um, they talked about the 21st floor of the Disney Channel building, which is where the headquarters is at, and Shia LaBeouf and the actor who played his best friend, Alan Twitty was the name of the character, but I can't remember the name of. Do I make money off of this? Well, yeah, every time I get an ad playing on anything that I do make money, but I don't know if it's gonna be a lot. But yeah. Sorry you got an ad to interrupt you. Um, where was I? Okay, so yeah, so the 2 of them, they always went to the 21st floor of the Disney Channel building, and that was just basically like a chill place for them, just to hang out and stuff, and I thought that was pretty cool that, like, all the executives just let Shia LaBeouf and his co-star just hang out in the headquarters where they're making important Disney decisions. Um, alright. They talked about later in life, about how Shia LaBeouf, like 15, 20 years after Even Stevens has come and gone, he made his own movie. Like, and then he cast himself in it, and then he cast somebody else in the movie, and the premise of the movie was, like, him playing his father, and then a young boy playing a young Shia LaBeouf, and it would talk about all the horrible things that his father did to him as a child, and the actress who played Shia LaBeouf's mother in the show, Donna Pascal, she once she saw the movie, she turned to Shia and she just broke down crying and saying like, "If we would have known, we would have done so much to help you." Because it was truly sad, all the stuff that was in the movie. But and then Shia LaBeouf later confirmed that the movie was not 100% accurate and it was exaggerated for ratings or whatever. But people don't just come up with that. So it's kind of like up in the air what really happened and what didn't. But either way, let's go back to Christy Carlson Romano. So Christy, we all know her. We love her on this channel. She played the voice of Kim Possible, and in this, she also played Ren Stevens, who was on Even Stevens, and she was Shia LaBeouf's co-star and played her sister. And the two of them were kind of polar opposites the whole time, because Shia was completely untrained. You know, he didn't come from an acting background or anything. He just wanted to act because he saw a kid in his class who had nice shoes and he was like, "Oh, where'd you get those shoes from?" "Oh, I bought it with my acting money and I want to act." And he just went into it blind, completely blind, and got the role. Whereas Christy has been training and training since day one. You know, she was in musical theater as a child on Broadway. She can sing, act, dance. She's been training for years. And in the book, it said that Christy Carlson Romano was the first true superstar that Disney felt that they had on their hands, but they just didn't know what to do with her because she was too talented. Um, and then that's where she later got Kim Possible. But during their time on set, Christy and Shia had so much beef just because they were so different. And I guess that kind of resonated on camera too because their characters were always fighting. But people thought that Christy was really talented, but that she was also in the shadow of Hilary Duff, who was the current it girl at Disney. Okay, Oh, Honey Boy. Honey Boy was the name of Shia LaBeouf's movie that he did. Okay, and everybody knew that Even Stevens was a big hit. People really liked it, but because Disney Channel didn't really keep track of ratings at the time, nobody knew exactly how big the show was. And the show didn't even have merchandise or anything, or a movie that was released in theaters, like how the Lizzie McGuire movie was. Um, like I feel like everybody could tell Even Stevens was a big show at the time, but that Lizzie McGuire was more of a big deal. Okay. All right, moving on to Lizzie McGuire. Oh my gosh. Hilary Duff. First of all, an icon. I love Hilary Duff. Um, do you remember the commercials she did in like the mid 2000s? I want to say like 2006 or something, where she was basically telling people to not use the word gay as like a slur, which iconic behavior. I love Lizzie. Hilary Duff. Okay, because I just have like little notes that I have. So Aaron Carter party on Lizzie McGuire. Um, okay, Aaron Carter was on Lizzie McGuire. He's since passed away, so RIP. But yeah, that happened. There was a lot of drama between Hillary and the actress who played her best friend Miranda. Leilani is the name. And Leilani, like I said, she was the woman who narrated this book, because I read it on audiobook on Audible. So props to her. She really did a good job. But apparently, from what I understand, the drama between Leilani and Hillary, it originated because in one of the episodes of Lizzie McGuire, there was something with like a musical or some school talent show or whatever, which required Leilani to sing. And it would be the first time that anybody heard anybody on Lizzie McGuire actually sing. Because the theme song is done by a third party. It's not done by Hilary Duff or anybody in the cast. So, and that caused a lot of drama with Hilary Duff's mother, who was very hands on when it came to Hilary's career because she wanted Hillary to be the first person to sing because we're going to get after Lizzie McGuire takes off, we're going to get Hillary. We're going to get Hillary into a music career and then she's going to blow up. But now that kids are hearing Leilani sing first, they're going to want to hear Leilani's music instead of Hillary Duff's music, and that would affect her career. So that's what Hillary's mother was thinking, and that led to a lot of drama between Leilani and Hillary. And it was also why after the TV show wrapped, they filmed the Lizzie McGuire movie, and Leilani wasn't in the movie. That's the main reason why, basically. Okay, back to Lizzie McGuire, the show. Um, I think there was something with the marketing property to where they couldn't have Hilary Duff's face on anything. I don't remember why, but when it came to, like, selling Lizzie McGuire products, all they could have was, like, the cartoon drawing of Lizzie McGuire. You know, that little animated figure that voices the thoughts in Lizzie's head. I keep confusing the 2. They could have that on, like, dolls and whatever they're trying to sell, but for some reason, they couldn't have Hilary Duff's face, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't remember why. But yeah, they also showed that the show Lizzie McGuire was really, really popular with college girls. Um, and the reasoning behind that was because college girls felt like, "Oh my gosh, this was me when I was in middle school." You know, like middle school kids liked it, but a lot of people in college really, really liked it, which is something that which is a pattern I saw a lot in this book. Um, and it's also a pattern that I've seen since I started this channel because it's true. No matter how old we get, no matter how grown we think we are, we will never forget the people on Disney who made our lives and who we look up to and who we love, you know? Okay, because I took so many notes about this book, and a lot of them is just like 2 words. Like, one of them just said for the whole Lizzie McGuire's portion, one of them just says, "Move over, Olsen twins." Ah, so, yeah. So I'm just skipping over the things that oh, yeah, Disney had a lot of censoring in its programming because, Disney is known for that squeaky clean image, whereas Nickelodeon could be more wild and out there. Disney took extra measures to be cautious in their programming. For example, when it came to Kim Possible, that's an action show where Kim is fighting crime and saving the world all the time. They could show no scenes containing school violence. So, no beating up people in the school, no guns blasting lockers open at the school because and then in Phil of the Future, which was another show that was on at the time, they couldn't have a detachable mom head. Why did I write that? But anyways, they couldn't just like because that show was like about aliens and stuff, so from the future. So apparently they couldn't show people being decapitated or taking their heads off and putting them back on because during this time, the early to mid 2000s, this was not too long after 9/11, so people were very cautious um, about what they put out there because they didn't want to like disturb anybody. It's also why the Powerpuff Girls movie, in my opinion, did so badly because so much of that movie is just about the city of Townsville being destroyed. And the movie was released less than a year after 9/11, so people were just like not feeling it. Poor Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup. Okay, then in 2003, Disney finally introduces the iconic wand ID, where people have the wand and they're like, "Hi, I'm so and so, and you're watching Disney Channel." Doot, 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 That's when they finally introduced that, which is great because they're introducing more personal branding, making Disney Channel more unique. Just give me a second to take a sip of water. All right. Um, Oh yeah, cause my stuff is so out of order. I don't remember if the book was that way or if I'm just messy, but back to Lizzie McGuire, it talks about Leilani was released from her Lizzie McGuire TV show contract 6 episodes early because of the falling out between Hillary and Leilani because of the whole music career stuff. There was a spin-off series called Stevie Sanchez. Apparently, I think that was gonna feature Leilani as a main character, but that got that got dropped. Um, because Hilary Duff had a built-in audience, they eventually went and launched her music career, and of course, it became a success, as we all know. Um, Around that time, Disney Channel had like all of their stars. Okay, Disney Channel had all of its stars sing like a "We Are the World" type thing, and during them, apparently, Christy Carlson Romano, voice of Kim Possible, Ren Stevens on Even Stevens, she got implants on her breasts, and she was going to Annalisa Vanderpool, who played Chelsea in That's a Raven, and also Raven herself, and she was going to them, and she was like, "Hey, girls, look what I got. I got my girl's done," Just a mess. Look at what you can do when you're young and have all that money. But yeah, good for her. I'm Okay, what else? Um, oh, Hilary Duff released her Metamorphosis album, which went 3 times platinum in 5 months, and that's at this point, it's the biggest selling thing that anybody from Disney has ever done. So, they're really valuing Hilary Duff as a Disney product and really putting a lot into her and stuff. However, because of the framework that was established with Lizzie McGuire, Duff felt like she couldn't really be herself. She had to be like a squeaky clean girl, which is a lot is something that a lot of people from Disney complain about, which is true and it's valid because, you know, trying to sustain that squeaky clean image, it's not really practical when you become an adult, you know. Duff talked about how she had an eating disorder. I don't want to trigger anybody, but I'm not going to talk in depth about that. But just know that they talked about that in the book. Um, okay, Lizzie McGuire movie. It became a big hit when it was released in 2003. Um, and again, Hillary's mother making business moves for her. Um, I'm trying to look at my notes and trying to understand what I wrote because okay, from what I remember, the movie people offered, an amount for Hillary to be in the movie, but then the mother was like, "No, we want more money." And then the people were like, "Okay, we can do this much more if the movie does this well." And then the mothers were like, "No, we want more money." And then apparently they said no, and then because of that, a second Lizzie McGuire movie was never made. But eventually, instead of that, Lizzie McGuire did a Cinderella Story the movie A Cinderella Story, with Regina King, um, and what's her name? Jennifer Coolidge, yes, and she got more money for that movie than she would have gotten for a second Lizzie McGuire movie anyways. Okay, at this time, reality shows were starting to become more and more popular, the mid-2000s. They compared the salary of somebody working on Disney Channel. At the time, one of the big shows on network TV with the child actor starring was Malcolm in the Middle, and apparently Frankie Muniz was getting $20,000 per episode of Malcolm in the Middle, whereas people on Disney Channel were only getting 8,000. Both a lot of money, but a substantial difference. Disney Channel began to make its switch from single camera shows to multi-camera shows because a lot of the earlier shows, the earlier live action shows, were single camera, only using one camera. Shows like Lizzie McGuire, Even Stevens, the famous Jet Jackson, all of those were single camera shows. Whereas starting with That's So Raven, that's when they switched to multi-camera shows where it was just like a studio, a set, and like 4 different cameras, um, depending on what scene you're in. But yeah, all of that really started with That's So Raven, and we get into that chapter now. Okay, so That's So Raven, it became the first Black with That's So Raven, Raven Simone became the first Black person, well, Black actress, I believe, to have a comedy series titled after her own name, Icon. Um, Raven was originally supposed to be the best friend in That's So Raven. She, but but when they filmed the original pilot for That's So Raven, which was at the time called Absolutely Psychic, because Raven Simone was just so captivating and so charismatic, she stole all the attention away from the main character. And people were looking at her like, "Okay, this girl is way too talented to just be some one-off side character or even the best friend character. She is the main character. She is Raven. She is what we need." And I'm glad Disney picked up on that. Um, so the main character was dropped, Raven replaced her, and then Raven, it was between 2 different actresses to play Raven's best friend, and Raven selected Annalisa because she felt that Annalisa's energy matched Raven's a lot better than the other girl that they got, and they got Kyle Massey to play Corey, and then the rest was history. Okay, I apologize if, like, the people next door are making a lot of noise, I just can't really do anything about it. Except talk louder. Yes. Alright, oh, yeah. Behind the scenes of That's a Raven, during the filming of the 1st season, it was chaotic. It was a mess. Okay, so first of all, there were barely any Black people working on the show, which was definitely an issue if you have a show starring a Black person. One of the reasons it's an issue is because of the hair. The book talked about how this isn't just a problem with That's a Raven, it's a problem in Hollywood also. How Black people won't have the proper people to take care of their hair because a lot of the hairstylists and everything they don't know how to do Black people's hair, which is a struggle I know all too well. Um, but yeah, let me see. It was just so unprofessional behind the scenes. The men, they never knew the people didn't know how to do their hair, so they always had to wear it bald. Like, imagine how many times Corey was just, like, bald for no reason. Um, the the executive producer, Michael Poirier, who, I believe he also created the show, but he was just the book talked about how unprofessional he was and the environment that the show was during the 1st season. Um, they were filming up until, like, 3, 4, 5 a.m. when having these long production shoots when other shows and other programs would be, like, wrapped up by 7. Um, but by season 2, everything got so much better. They hired a lot more Black people to work behind the scenes. They got people who were working on, the UPN sitcoms, like The Parkers and Moesha. They got those people to be writers on the show, to work behind the scenes, hair people, all that stuff. And by season 2, the show was running a lot more smoothly production-wise. They got episodes filmed a lot faster than before. Um, and it was just a mess. One thing that the book did talk about was the record-breaking episode of That's a Raven, Country Cousins, which garnered 10.8 million viewers, which is, to this day, tied for the most watched Disney Channel episode of all time. Um, but I feel like people are trying to erase that record because now you can't find that record anywhere. And in the book, it said that that episode garnered 4 million people, 4 million viewers, and it didn't. It garnered 10 million. I remember I was there. I love this show so much that sometimes on my off time, I scroll through the deep internet looking at TV ratings from when the show was on, and I go and I recover lost episodes ratings of That's a Raven just for fun. Raven's acting style, they commented on how she was like a Lucille Ball. who is a legendary comedy actress known for her TV show I Love Lucy, and she's hilarious and just an amazing comedian. And so is Raven in her own right. But an issue that people kept talking about was Raven's weight. They kept talking about how Raven just, no matter what, just seemed to gain weight. It just kept coming no matter what they did. I know she had liposuction when she was like 17, at her father's recommendation. There was a season 2 episode called That's So Not Raven, which talked about like Raven's pressures to feel thin. Um, and because of that, and like the messed up thing with that episode is at the end of the episode, Raven's like, you know what? I love my body just the way it is, and everybody at home should, and they should. But that final scene where Raven is like loving herself as she is, apparently the people at Disney digitally altered that scene and made Raven's body thinner than what it actually was in that final scene, which completely goes against the whole message of the episode and the show in general. It was just messed up. Um, they talked about how Raven had to stay closeted as a lesbian, which not cool. I know the feeling all too well. It's not fun at all. They talked about Raven's controlling father, um, how Raven just seemed so unhappy whenever he was around, and later on, he eventually left. Like, he left the professional setting, like, he wasn't there as much, and that was during the later seasons of the show, and when he was gone, Raven was a lot more happy and more free and more relaxed, and everybody that was working with her noticed that as well. Oh, okay, they talked about the Cheetah Girls. You guys know I'm not really a fan of the Cheetah Girls. I think Like, I keep saying I don't even know why I'm not a fan of the Cheetah Girls because I should be. Like, I like girl groups. I loved I love Destiny's Child. I love Fifth Harmony. Um, I like TLC. They're cool, but and I like Little Mix. They're cool too. But I think the reason I don't like the Cheetah Girls is just because I just feel like I would have liked them if I had seen the movie when I was younger. Because I went into it watching it at 21 years old, and I just, like, don't relate to it at all, but the music's good. I love the Cinderella song. Um, they filmed the movie in the fall of 2002, and it was freezing there. I don't remember what city they were in. I know I'm pretty sure it takes place in New York, but I don't know if they were actually there filming. Maybe they were in Toronto or whatever, but it was cold when they were filming it. The fall of 2002, that's when I was okay. That was when I was born, but yeah, it was so cold that they had like little heating pads built into their outfits. Hey, music lover, you came just in time. I'm actually talking about the Cheetah Girls. You know my feelings on them. I'm sorry I'm not keeping up with your comments, people. I'm just really into talking about this book, Disney High. Um, all right. Yes, it is filmed in Toronto. Okay, that's why it was so cold. But yeah, they had little heating pads built into the outfits. Because it was so cold. One of the people working on the films was Whitney Houston, talented, yes, the legend. Um, and they talked about the soundtrack. The soundtrack for the first Cheetah Girls film was a success. It went 2 times platinum, and around this time, and then back to That's So Raven. Oh wait, no. Oh yeah, the Cheetah Girls drama. I can't miss out on that. So because That's So Raven was so popular, because Raven Simone was the star of that show, she couldn't fully commit to the whole Cheetah Girls thing. Because after the movie wrapped, the other 3 girls, they went to go on tour as the Cheetah Girls, performing songs from the movie, whereas Raven went back to film another season of That's So Raven, and she kept doing the show. And because I believe the timeline went like the first season of That's So Raven was filmed, and then the Cheetah Girls was filmed, and then season 2 and 3 of That's So Raven were filmed, and then the 4th season was also filmed, and then the 2nd movie was filmed. So in between the 1st and the 2nd movie, Raven had filmed 3 more seasons of That's So Raven and eventually finished the show, and then went back to film, um, the Cheetah Girls, the 2nd Cheetah Girls movie. And by then, the 3 girls had grown so close to each other, and Raven had grown so far apart from those 3 that the chemistry was just off. Raven actually felt a lot closer to the actress who played Belinda in the 2nd movie, the Spanish singing girl. Um, and that led to a lot of tension between them because it was 2 people over here and 3 people over here, and they were just not getting along at all. And, eventually, for the 3rd Cheetah Girls movie, Raven was not up for it at all. But the good news for Raven is that by the time That's a Raven wrapped up, the That's a Raven as a property, as an entity, has grossed over $400 million. That's the most for any Disney Channel property to date, not to date, but up until then. Because there's one little girl who did the only person to do more than Raven, to get more money than Raven. Um, Raven talked about how there was no paparazzi at her 19th birthday party. Um, her albums didn't chart as high as people like Lizzie McGuire, Hilary Duff. Why do I keep doing that? I keep mixing them up. See, now I know why she complains about getting typecast, because it's so easy to Lizzie McGuire, Hilary Duff. It's so easy to just. I'm sorry, Duff. I'm sorry. Oh, the book talked about how when it came to their music, the Disney Channel stars they couldn't do too much because again, Disney is so concerned with their brand and their pristine image. People like Raven Simone and Selena Gomez, they wanted to include hip hop in their music, but they weren't allowed to because it was too ethnic. Because Raven's black and Selena's Latina, it was too ethnic for okay, whatever. Raven and Lindsay Lohan. Okay, because when I was reading the book, I just wrote like random things that stood out to me. So again, I guess Raven Simone and Lindsay Lohan had a good friendship. Good for them because I'm a big fan of both. That's Raven. It broke the 65th episode rule, which is a restriction on every show before then, where it couldn't go past 65 episodes, and it also couldn't go past 3 seasons. But Disney Raven broke both of them, again breaking barriers. And then at the end of the That's So Raven chapter, they talked about how um, that Raven, like even though Disney Channel had success before That's So Raven, That's So Raven was the first time that Disney knew what it could truly do in terms of big success. Okay, now getting into the That's So Raven spinoff, Cory in the House. Okay, Cory in the House, we know it was canceled after 2 seasons. What you guys don't know is actually the premiere for Cory in the House is the highest rated premiere for any Disney show still to this date. It got over 7 million viewers on its first premiere, on its broadcast in January of 2007. And that record is like erased, but you have to go through like deep. Did I recover that? Because sometimes I like to do that for fun, where I'll just go and I'll recover the ratings for an old TV show. Um, I think I went ahead and recovered that. I'm gonna go check. I believe I did. Oh no, I couldn't because they don't have a column for the ratings. It's just not there. But yeah, they talked about how the show was a success, but it wasn't as big as Raven. Um, they, because again, That's a Raven was just like a 1 in a million type thing. Um, they talked about one that was one of the reasons why That's a Raven. I mean, Corey in the House didn't do so well, or why it got canceled so quickly, is because they were really expecting the show to become really, really popular, just as popular as That's a Raven, and that didn't happen. But another reason why the show was canceled so quickly is because Kyle Massey had an accident. While they were filming an upcoming episode, there was a scene involving a boat, and I don't remember the accident exactly, but Kyle wanted to do his own stunts, um, and he did it, but it didn't end up so well, and he got injured on set. And then his family wanted to sue Disney, but eventually they dropped that. And then, if that weren't enough, there was also the writer strike of 2007/2008, which lasted for 3 months, and it led to a lot of shows at the time, even the ones on Disney, to either be forced into hiatus, extend your hiatus, or just be canceled. Shows that were affected by this. Um, iCarly, they were currently filming like a bunch of episodes. They were filming their first season, but they had to put a hiatus on that and basically cancel the rest of season one. And then later on, when the strike ended, they just went on and filmed season two and kept going. Um, that's a Raven. I mean, not That's a Raven. Hannah Montana and Wizards of Waverly Place were lucky because they were already on hiatus. Like they had already finished filming a season months before and were just waiting a few. They were on break in between seasons already when the strike happened. So that's when Miley went on tour and Selena went and filmed other movies like Another Cinderella Story. And then Corey in the House and a bunch of other shows, they got canceled unfairly. I would have loved to have seen more of that. But from what I hear, season two wasn't as good as the first season. So maybe the show was already like starting to decline anyways. Okay. Now we're gonna get into The Sweet Life. Are you ready? Okay, so The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. So at this point, Disney was looking at its demographics and it was looking that so many girls watched Disney and loved Disney, but barely any boys were, or at least they never said that they did because it was like a shame to like Disney, like that's such a bad thing. But they also talked about how Disney was looking for a person, a product who could have their own, like a person or people who are very marketable. They could have a show that appealed to both boys and girls, and they could make music, like singing on the show, and then make music separate from the show, and then just become a big star, making money for them and Disney, right? So they tried it with so many different people before then, but it just didn't work out. I mentioned Phil of the Future, that didn't work. Um, and then now it didn't work with That's a Raven because of racism. But here we are with The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. So they find Zach, Cody, Dylan, and Cole Sprouse, and they're like, you guys can really be the it. You guys can really be, our big mega stars. But there was one problem. Dylan and Cole did not sing. They never wanted to sing. They were like, "Nah, we're not it. We are just actors. We are only actors." Um, which I say, good, stick to what you know, stick to what you're good at. But they were also like, but because Disney was working so hard to build this brand, like the perfect person for them has to be able to sing, dance, and act and do all three simultaneously because that's how Disney's going to make the most money off of them. But Zach and Cody were not it. Like they were just like, nah, we're not gonna stick to your Disney model. We're just gonna do us. Um, Now Dylan and Cole Sprouse, I learned that they didn't really have the easiest life growing up. They were born in Italy. Their mother was very just not a good person. Because I learned that from a lot of these people's stories, all of them had like one parent who was just a problem, and the other one who was like reasonably good in comparison. I mean, everybody has their issues, but like with these people, it was always like one parent was the issue and one parent was not. Like with Raven, her dad was the issue. For Zach and Cody, Dylan and Cole Sprouse, their mother was the issue. Um, yeah, she was an addict. I don't remember what she was addicted to, but she was just so out of it that Dylan and Cole Sprouse's father ended up with full custody of the kids. Um, and even though they had like to deal with that, whenever Zach and Cody, Dylan and Cole Sprouse were on set, they always said that they felt like the set was a safe environment for them, that they felt happy and safe every time they were there, acting alongside Phil Lewis and Kim Rhodes and Ashley Tisdale and Brenda Song, um, and the man who played Esteban. But I'm just happy that those kids had such a happy time on the show because they were on The Sweet Life and The Sweet Life on Deck for so long, and I can't if they were so sad, that would've made me sad, but I'm glad that they had happiness and found comfort and a safe haven in the show. Um, there was apparently supposed to be a show about triplets sometime in the works for Disney, but that show got dropped, and, then they were like, "Okay, let's look for twins," and then that's how they ended up with Zack and Cody. And there was a thing with Disney Channel and its contracting where after 3 seasons, a show would suddenly, out of nowhere, rebrand. Like, it'd be set in a new location, maybe the characters move, and it would be marketed as a different show, and they did that because if it's a new show, then you get to, like, negotiate a new contract, and with that contract, you pay the actors less. Like, if The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody had a 4th season and that 4th season was in the hotel again, then they'd have to pay the actors more. Because the more that a TV show stays in the same location, you have to pay the actors more and more each season. But if you'd move the characters to a new location and then market it as a different show or change the show's title, um, for example, from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody to The Sweet Life on Deck, or from Hannah Montana to Hannah Montana Forever. If you do that, then you can reset the salaries back to the first season of the original show. So, like, let's say a TV show, like you're an actor on a show, and then for season one, you earn $6,000 an episode. Season two, you earn 7,000. Season three, you earn 8,000. And then out of nowhere, they decide, hey, you know what? For this 4th season, we don't want to pay you $9,000. We're gonna pretend it's a new show, change the location. It's gonna be the same characters, but we're just gonna change the title of the show and put you somewhere else. And instead of getting 9,000, you'll go back to the 6,000 that you got paid for the first season of your show. That's you guys learned something? Did I teach you? You got it? Okay, cool. So yeah, they did that with The Sweet Life. They did that with Hannah Montana, but with Hannah, it's a little different. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Um, the twins. Okay, I'm trying to think of because I wrote so much, and I don't really want to talk about all of it, just because a lot of it is not that. The cast were actually really, really close to each other. They helped each other through difficult times in their personal lives because Kim, who played the mother on The Sweet Life, she had like social anxiety, like being around a lot of people really discomforted her. And Ashley Tisdale, who played Maddie, she held Kim's hand in public for as long as she needed to, and it, that's just heartwarming that this cast was just so lovely. I'm just so glad that it wasn't the horror story that we hear so much of. Um, that's what I wanted to talk about. They also ordered a ridiculous amount of episodes per season. Like for regular shows on network TV, like NBC, ABC, all these other network TV channels, a season will probably have like 22 to 24 episodes. But with Disney, common episode lengths are 26 episodes, 30 episodes, 39 episodes. Those were very common, and, I think part of it is just because kids grow up fast, so you wanna get as much from them while they're still young, I guess, part of marketing, but they just went overboard, and said one person working behind the scenes on The Sweet Life said, she got pregnant, gave birth, went on maternity leave, and came back, all while the second season of The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody was filmed. Like, before that okay, the season starts filming, and then she gets pregnant, waits 9 months, gives birth, 3 months for maternity leave, and then when she comes back, the show is still filming the second season. That's how long season 2 of The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody was. But yeah. Um, Back to the boys not wanting to sing, because they didn't wanna do that, Disney was just like they felt a little hurt just because they needed somebody who would do all 3 and make a lot of money. Because with them not wanting to sing, it just eliminated, like, a whole branch of finance for Disney. So they had to look for another property because Raven wasn't there anymore, um, Hillary left the building. So, yeah. I mean, she was still signed to them, I bet, but her show wasn't on anymore. Okay, High School Musical. Now we get to this chapter. So I'm not gonna lie, there are 2 chapters in this book that I was not looking forward to at all, but I knew that the book would talk about regardless just because these products were so popular. The first one was High School Musical, um, just because I've personally never been a fan of High School Musical. Like I've said so many times, when it comes to entertainment in general, I always prefer television shows over movies anyway. And when it comes to Disney, I'd rather watch Hannah Montana any day over High School Musical. I'm sorry. I just I think it's overrated. I don't like calling things overrated because I know if something's not for me, maybe it appeals to somebody else. But yeah, I'm just not that into High School Musical. I haven't even made a video about it, except for the one where it was like talking about Disney Channel's biggest night because High School Musical is the most popular thing Disney's ever done. But anyways, they talked about Kenny Ortega, who was the director of the movie, and he was involved with a lot of things to do with High School Musical and Hannah Montana when Disney was at its peak. Um, because he just had such a creative vision that helped the channel elevate to a new level. And he helped do that again in the mid 2010s with the whole Descendants franchise because he helped direct that too. So he's really good creative man. Um, Corbin Blue, who played I don't know who on the movie. I don't know his character's name, but he was in the movie. They talked about how even though he was a good actor and a good dancer, um, his character was a basketballer, and Corbin struggled a lot with that, trying to make his character be believable as somebody who was really, really into basketball. But they talked about how everybody knew that Zac Efron was a star. Kenny Ortega, especially, like really rode hard for him. But a lot of the people who were working on the movie with him said, "Yeah, Zach's got the look, but he can't really sing that well." And they thought that, hey, maybe this other guy, Drew Seeley, who you guys may know, he played Selena Gomez's co-star on the Another Cinderella Story movie, but he's got a really good voice, and they wanted him to do all the singing parts for Zach's character, but they were like, nah, just let Zach do it, because Zach's got the charisma. He's the main character. Kenny really believed it, and I'm good that he stuck to his gun because Zach it worked. I mean, hey, we're still talking about it right now, right? Okay, my goodness, I wrote so many notes. Gabriella, not is that her name in real Vanessa Hudgens. Vanessa Hudgens in real life loved Zac Efron. However, Zac Efron in real life had a girlfriend at the time. So that created drama between them. The actor who played Ryan, Sharpay's brother, um, he kept asking Kenny, like, "Hey, what's up with Ryan? Is Ryan gay?" And Kenny was like, "Yeah, but we gotta make it subtle." Um, because, Disney was not with that back then. So, they had, like, little subtle moments, and do you remember when I think it was in the second movie when Ryan and Corbin Blue's character switched clothes? That was kind of like, ooh, a moment. Um, they didn't really talk okay. They talked about how, Monique and Lucas, um, the actress who played Monique and Lucas who played Ryan, they were the 2 oldest cast members in the main characters in, High School Musical. They talked about how they talked about that, they talked about how they weren't working actors at the time. Um, Monique, the actress who played her, was left out of promotion. Maybe Lucas was too, I don't remember. Um, the show the movie was filmed on a $4.2 million budget, and it was a big success. Um, it garnered 7.7 million viewers when it premiered in 2006. And it became the number one best-selling album. The soundtrack became the number one best-selling album of 2006. Um, so yeah, it was a big hit. Oh, Monique is the actress. The character's name is Taylor. Oh, you can see I'm not with High School Musical. I'm sorry. Like I'm just okay. When it came because the High School Musical was such a success, of course, a second one was inevitable, but some of the struggles that came with the second movie is, 1, Kenny Ortega, who I said was the director of the original movie, and who was like the vision behind the movie and basically the heart of it, he was um he was pushing the actors and pushing the crew and the cast, everybody. He was like really, really pushing them hard. I mean, I guess I understand where he's coming from because he sees the potential. He knows that they have the potential to be great, but everybody was just like, he's putting way, way too much pressure on us. Um, so that was an issue that they had to deal with on set. Zach and Vanessa Hudgens had a relationship in real life at the time. Ashley Tisdale and Lucas, who were supposed to play brother and sister, Sharpay and Ryan, they did not like each other. Um, Lucas felt like, because we don't know the perspective from Ashley's side because she's never said, or at least I've never heard, which is weird because I've watched a documentary on her before on Disney Plus. But, anyways, when it came to Lucas, from his perspective, he thought that when it came to Sharpay, Ashley Tisdale wasn't playing a character, that she was just a diva in real life. But she's not. I don't think so. So I guess she's just that good at acting. Deserves a bigger career. Um, they talked about Vanessa Hudgens' private photos getting leaked at the time, and she was slut shamed, and Disney didn't do anything to her to help her at all. But because the environment that she was in and she was surrounded by women all the time, they kind of uplifted her, which was really, really good at the time. She really needed that. Um, but yeah, that was just unfair. Okay. They both said that during filming for the first movie, they didn't get along. Towards the end, and especially by the second film, they became friends. Okay, that's good. At least not everybody gets along, but I mean, not everybody gets along with their coworkers. But if you can find a way to, I mean, that's good. I'm glad they became friends. Okay, High School Musical 3, that was a theatrical release because the first 2 were only released on the network on TV, but the 3rd one, just because the brand was so big at the time, it got released in theaters. They had a bigger budget, um, and because it wasn't created by Disney, because it was released theatrically, Disney Channel itself didn't receive as much of the profits from this movie as they did from the first 2. I don't know how that works, but apparently they did. They didn't. Apparently they didn't receive as much money. But it was a success. Number 1 at the box office, $200 million globally. Um, they were in talks of making a 4th High School Musical movie, but they didn't because, with the money that it cost to make the movie, a 4th movie, and knowing that it would be released theatrically, and then Disney would see no little to no profits from that. The making of a 4th movie would basically be Disney losing money, losing more money than it'd be making. So that's why a 4th one never happened. Um, what else do I have here? But eventually we got Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure, the spin-off series movie with Ashley Tisdale and Austin Butler. That is true. A film series starting on Disney Channel and ending with the theatrical release is super rare. But you know what is not super rare? Well, it is rare, but not as rare as that. A TV series on Disney um, having a theatrical movie adaptation. That only happened twice. It happened once with Lizzie McGuire, which I already mentioned, and it happened again with another show I'm about to talk about in just a second. Okay. Oh, apparently there was also supposed to be a Disney I mean, a Disney TV show that was based off of High School Musical, and it was called Madison High, and it would star Luke Benward, Catherine McNamara, um, And those were people who were really popular in the early 2010s. Luke Benward, he was in Girl vs. Monster. He played the love interest in the Olivia Holt movie, Girl vs. Monster. And Catherine McNamara, she was also in that movie too. And I remember she guest starred on Jessie, and she was like the really, really skinny girl with orange hair. And she was on Shadowhunters also, if you guys watch that show. But yeah, eventually that show didn't come into fruition. But in 2019, we got High School Musical, the series, which I never watched only because of that title. Yes. Well, not only, I was also never really into High School Musical, like I said before, but also that title was a turnoff. I know they say don't judge books by a cover, but like, it's not a book. It's a movie. I mean, it's a TV show with a really, really long title. Okay, enough with High School Musical. That was one. Actually, High School Musical was 2 chapters. All the other stuff before only had 1 chapter dedicated to them, but because High School Musical was so impactful for the history of Disney, it had 2 chapters of the book dedicated to it. And so did this next one. The one, the only, Hannah Montana. All right. So remember when I said there were 2 chapters or 2 segments of the book that I was not looking forward to? This is not one of them. I was completely looking forward to this. Okay, so with Hannah Montana, Disney finally found the perfect person they were looking for. They were looking for somebody who was funny, who was charismatic, who could sing, dance, act, do all 3, and, bring merchandise, bring money, sell albums as the character and then also as themselves and, really become this huge property. And Miley Cyrus was that person. Okay, what notes do I have here? So they auditioned 1,200 girls to play the lead character um, on Hannah Montana. When Miley first auditioned, they said that she was too young, and then, they kept auditioning more people, but nobody was right. And then eventually, like a year later, they called her back and they're like, "You know what? You're good. Let's audition you." And then there were 3 people. They finally narrowed it down to, like, 3 people. One of them was Miley, a second one was Daniela Monet, who went on to play Trina on Victorious. She went on to have, like, a really good career with Nickelodeon. And there was a third girl, I don't remember her. Maybe when it came down to, like, the top 2, it was Miley and Daniela was a really good actress, and she had lots of sitcom experience. Because the room was evenly divided between Miley and Daniela, and like I said, Daniela had lots of sitcom experience, she was a really good actress, she was funny, captivating, and she could sing. However, Miley could sing better, and she also had, like, a country twang to her voice. Her father was Billy Ray Cyrus, and, but Miley was also a newcomer. She had never done anything really up before this. I mean, she was featured on her dad's TV show, but that really wasn't much. But Miley was also, like, naturally charismatic, and people were like, "Do we take a chance with Miley, or do we go with Daniela?" Who Daniela But anyways, they went with Miley. Okay, apparently her salary was $8,000 per episode with a 5% increase per season, I believe. Yeah. Um, the mother, Tish Cyrus, was like, she really pushed her husband at the time to be Miley's father on the TV show. Um, they got Jason Earls, who was 27 years old at the time, to be Miley's teenage brother. and Miley was only 12 when the pilot episode of Hannah Montana was filmed, so keep that in mind. I mean, I know siblings have age gaps like that in real life, but whatever, whatever. But the good thing about his age is that he served as a bridge between the children working on the set and the adult showrunners and executives, um, basically showing he would show the kids what the adults, filming the show and the directors, he would show the kids what those people wanted from them, but he was also show the adults what the kids felt and what they felt comfortable doing and what they felt happy doing, and he was kind of like a mediator for them, which good on you, Jason. Good on you. And the kids really looked up to him. Miley Cyrus and Emily Osment did not get along apparently when filming the show. Um, they said it wasn't until the Hannah Montana movie where they filmed that in Miley's hometown, and then like Emily got to understand Miley's way of life because they were so different at the time. But I think that experience filming the movie in Tennessee, that's what got them to become really, really close. And then after that, there was the third season and then the fourth season. That's when they like became besties. But the first two seasons, and then the movie, the first two seasons they didn't really get along. It was just because the movie was filmed in after season 2 and before season 3. But yeah. Oh, okay. This one is one I wanted to talk about. The book talked about how Miley, we all know she's a naturally gifted singer. She's got a beautiful voice, even from day one. However, Miley really, 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 really struggled with acting. Now, I've mentioned it before, Miley Cyrus is not the best actress in the world. Um, should I say it or not? You guys are my people, I'll say it. I personally feel like the show would not have gotten as much hate as it did back then if she was like a good actress. I'm sorry to like spew hate, but I really think that like, all the teenage boys who like to hate on like girly stuff or whatever and conclude Hannah Montana as like the ultimate girly stuff, girly thing or whatever. I don't think they would have hated the show as much if Miley was actually like good at acting. But yeah, um, because of how she struggled with acting for the first like 4 or 5 episodes that they were filming, they actually had to film those without a live studio audience just because Miley was struggling so much. Um, but it eventually got to the point where, hey, you know what? We cannot keep filming the show without a live audience, because you just gotta get the hang of it, baby girl. So eventually she did, and the show went on. It kept taping. Eventually, they got a live audience in the show, and Miley got used to the rhythm. And the show was a success. 5.4 million viewers for its premiere, and the production episode order, like for season 1, Disney was like, "Hey, you know what? We want you guys to make 20 episodes for us." But because the show was such a success, they were like, "You know what? You know that 20 we said? Make it 26." Yes, just because your show is doing so well. Um, and like I said, Michael Poirier, who was the executive producer who was working on That's a Raven, he was also working on this show. And like I said, you know how he was on That's a Raven, and for the first season of that show, they had such a messy production behind the scenes for the first season of That's a Raven. For this show, it didn't really happen because there was another executive producer, um, His last name was Peterman, I forgot his first name. Mark Peterman, maybe? But the 2 of them balanced each other out, so it wasn't just Michael being crazy and causing a an unprofessional set. So because those 2 executive producers balanced each other out, um, you know, everything on set was relatively calm and easy, except for Miley struggling with the acting and Miley and Emily fighting, well, not getting along. Um, by 2008, Hannah Montana had reached $2.7 billion in merchandise, and this is by 2008, 2 years after the show started. The show would end up running for 5 years, but 2 years in, it was already at $3 billion almost. That's crazy. And by the way, yes, to this day, the Hannah Montana franchise is the biggest one to ever come out of Disney. Um, they had because the show was so popular and a lot of people liked it, they had a lot of celebrity guest stars. I remember there was Ray Romano, um, Dolly Parton, of course, because she has connections to Billy Ray Cyrus. Who else? Oh, Dr. Phil. That was so random. Um, Robin Roberts, Jesse McCartney, underrated. Um, oh, there was Cheryl Lee Ralph. I remember her. Was Lisa Rinna on the show too? Okay, they had a lot of stars, a lot of celebrities. Um, they talked about how when they were wrapping up the filming the 3rd season in 2009, they had a wrap party. Basically, a wrap party is after you finish filming. Oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you for telling me more of the guest stars. Gilbert Gottfried. Oh, he played the critic. Joey Fatone from NSYNC, Larry David, yes, Curb Your Enthusiasm. But when they were trying to have the season 3 wrap party, which is a wrap party is basically when you're done filming a movie or a season of a TV show, you'll have a party afterwards just to like celebrate all the good work that you've done, all the hard work. And for the 3rd season of Hannah Montana, which finished filming in June of 2003, Disney wanted like a big budget for the wrap party, and Disney denied it. But then I forget what happens, but eventually they caved in and said, "You know what? Have your wrap party. Hannah Montana is a big success, anyways. You guys are making a lot of money, so have your wrap party." So they did. Um, the wigs, the Hannah Montana wigs are untreated human hair flown in from Russia. Um, they cost $6,000 each wig. It takes 80 to 100 hours to make each wig. The show had a total of 10 wigs throughout its run. Um, and then from season 2 onward, because we know during the first season they really struggled with the costuming, but from season 2 onwards, um, all the outfits were designed by a designer named Dalia Farutan, if I'm remembering how to pronounce it correctly. And just like how I mentioned, like how they skinny shamed, I mean, how they fat shamed Raven Simone, they skinny shamed Miley Cyrus. They're like, "Oh, you're too bony, you're too skinny, blah 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 blah. Eat a piece of ham." I don't know what, just horrible stuff. Because listen, if you learn nothing from me, learn from this. It's not okay to shame anybody for anything. I don't condone fat shaming and I don't condone skinny shaming. I myself, I'm somebody who my entire life, my weight has been going up and down, up and down. There were years in my life where I was like really, really overweight and there was nothing I could do about it. And there are years of my life where I was really, really thin and there was nothing I could do about it. I've endured both fat shaming and skinny shaming, and none of it is cool. So I'm really sad that it both happened to Raven and Miley. Um, but yeah, um, at a well, not at a point, but Miley Cyrus's success was starting to trump her father's, Billy Ray Cyrus's, and because of this, Billy went on to start smoking and drinking, and it was really getting crazy, just because he felt like his daughter was starting to overshadow him, sorry. Um, and I remember he did, like, a little interview in 2013, I believe, around Miley Cyrus's Bangers era, where he was talking about how Hannah Montana ruined his family. Um, okay, and they talked about how, like, Hannah even though iCarly was beating Hannah Montana in the ratings, like, iCarly was getting higher viewership. Like, for example, for a typical iCarly episode, let's say 6.2 million people watch it just for a regular episode. Uh, a regular episode of Hannah Montana, only about like 5.4 million people would watch it, both of which were still high for the time. But iCarly was just really, really good at like marketing each episode and getting a lot of people to tune in for each individual episode. And it got really, really high ratings. However, Hannah was very omnipresent in pop culture in a way that iCarly wasn't. Like both were still popular, but Hannah Montana was just way more popular in each segment. So if iCarly was beating Hannah in the ratings, it didn't really matter because Hannah was number one in music, number one in the movies, number one concert, number one in every department, whereas iCarly was only really winning with the TV ratings. Okay, I talked about the writer's strike. They had the concert film in 2008 because in 2007, I because the show was popular, Miley went on the Best of Both Worlds tour, and sorry, when you talk a lot, the gas just builds up and you have to burp. Sorry about being unprofessional. Normally, I just cut this out, but it's a live stream, so you can't really do that. But okay, the Best of Both Worlds tour, because not everybody could attend it just because it was so in high demand. They shot a concert film, and then the concert film was released in theaters, and it originally only had a limited release, so it was only gonna be released in theaters for 1 week, but because that was also in high demand, that 1 week got extended into, like, an indefinite amount of time, and then by that summer, the summer of 2008, the movie of the tour was available to watch on Disney Channel. It premiered, on the network. Oh, okay. And then Miley's this is where we talk about Miley's controversies. So Miley, as she got older, she started to become more and more provocative, growing more into her own skin and wanting to grow up, which she has every right to do. Um, but she kept getting a lot of the backlash because she had to be this pristine image. And it's worse for her because she is the most, like I said, the most popular person of all time to come from Disney. $3 billion in 2 years. Um, she was getting there was the 2008 Annie Leibovitz controversy where she took part in that photo shoot, which was supposed to be artsy and creative, but it instead was seen as too provocative and edgy, and people didn't like that. When she performed in 2009. Oh, wait. Back to that controversy, because it was such a big backlash, um, They had a meeting on the 21st floor of Disney. Like I said, that's the headquarters where Shia LaBeouf was chilling with his co-star. Um, they had a meeting at the 21st floor shortly after this controversy, and the boss at the time said, "You know what? We are gonna stand behind Miley. We are not gonna abandon her. We are not gonna shame her. We're gonna stand behind her because everybody makes mistakes, you know? Everybody has those days." And I thought this was really nice, but I really wish that they could have offered the same treatment to Vanessa Hudgens when she was going through her controversy. Because remember how she had her private photos leaked not too long before Miley's. It was probably like 5 or 6 months before Miley's situation. But they just left Vanessa, but they stood by Miley, probably just because Miley was making all that money. Anyways, again in 2008, Miley had some private photos leaked by a 19-year-old boy who was never charged for his wrongdoings. Um, that's just gross. They talked about how other shows at the time and other stars were not as scrutinized as much as Hannah Montana and Miley Cyrus, and also the High School Musical kids, just because those two brands were the most popular things to ever come out of Disney. Um, there was the 2009 pole dancing incident where Miley performed Party in the USA, and then that also got a lot of backlash. Um, they talked about The Climb and Party in the USA were big hits for Miley back in 2009. Um, And then for the 4th season of Hannah Montana, they wanted to do the same thing I mentioned where they take the show that has been running for 3 seasons, and then they try to market it as a different show, give it a new location, a new title, and even though it has the same characters, it's gonna go back to the original salary from the 1st season. So all of that, like, increasing salary by season, all that gets reversed and set back to the original salary. So that's what they were doing with Hannah Montana Forever. And, Miley Cyrus, because she was so popular and so big at the time, she had a lot of leverage. She had a lot of power that a lot of other stars didn't before and after didn't have, um, when it came to their productions. She said, "Okay, I'll do a 4th season of Hannah Montana if you keep, um if you keep the original producers, because they wanted to fire some of the producers and replace them with new ones, but Miley said no. Um, Let me see where I can find that note. Because Miley Cyrus was so powerful at the time. And I'm glad that she did that nice thing, even though she was basically being scrutinized so much at the time. You know, this was 2010 when Can't Be Tamed was released, when the whole Bong incident happened. Um, And Miley even had in 2011, she had a tour for her Can't Be Tamed album, but it was only toured internationally because Miley felt that America was so over her, like hated her so much that she was like, "You know what? I'm not even gonna tour in America. I'm just gonna tour in South America and Europe." I don't even think she went to Europe. I only think she went to South America because Americans and the American press was just so angry with Miley at the time. Yeah. Okay. Moving on from Miley, because the High School Musical and Hannah Montana chapters were 2 chapters for each of them, but everybody else had 1. All right, back to the next one. Selena Gomez and Wizards of Waverly Place. I know this is what y'all are here for, most of you. Okay, so they talked about how Selena Gomez was the hardest working actress that the people at Disney had ever seen. She'd go over her lines over and over and over again, just trying to perfect it, trying to make sure that she has the line delivery right and that it hits right. And that could explain it, why she came across so convincingly as her character Alex Russo on Wizards, why she was so witty and funny and just naturally gifted and just such just just awesome. You know, they talked about how Wizards went through several different variations before it became its original thing. Originally, it was called The Amazing Hannigans, and then it was changed to The Amazing O'Malleys. That's when they had like a magic shop instead of like what the show is now. Um, the show had Latino representation. They had the quinceañera. They had Shakira. Um, Let me see, because again, there are so many notes I wrote from the book that I don't even remember what I was trying to say when I wrote them. So I'm just like, "What?" That's why if I'm staring off into space looking confused, that's why. Um, oh. So for a lot of the episodes of the show, it'll say like Alex's brother Max or Alex, the puppet master, even if the episode itself has nothing to do with Alex. Because the show was really like an ensemble cast, each character has like an episode dedicated to them, and then it'll change from one character. Like one episode could be about Harper, and then next week it's about Justin, next week it's about the mom, next week it's about the dad. Whereas every other show before then, when it came to Disney, was really like every episode of Hannah Montana was about Miley slash Hannah. Every episode of That's a Raven was about Raven being a psychic. Um, with Wizards, it was very ensemble like, and but Disney really, really wanted that thing where it was just like the main character all the time. So they changed a lot of the episode titles, like Alex's brother Max. Like the whole episode's about Max, but it's just like Alex's brother, you know, because they were just really trying to hammer in that it was Alex's show. Because, like I said, back to the thing I said about Raven being like a Lucille Ball and Miley being like this omnipresent figure, they really, really wanted that for Alex's character and Selena, but it didn't really. But that's just not what the creators of the show wanted. Um. Oh, at the time, I guess this is during the fourth season of the show. But Selena Gomez was dating Justin Bieber, and Justin was trying to access a locked soundstage door, um, that he was not authorized to go through. Who cares that you sing "Baby" and you're this huge superstar? You're not supposed to go there. But, like, yeah, he tried to do that, but he didn't get to. Um, oh, yeah, the Wizards executives. So, um, like I said, Disney had a thing for firing like executives for their after the third season of a show and then hiring a new crew and new cast and changing things up for the fourth season to make it become eligible to be a different show and eligible to pay the cast and crew a lot less. Um, and because they did this, one of the original executive producers of Wizards, who was there for the first three seasons, Peter Marietta, he was being let go for the fourth season because of what I just said. And he was also he was the executive producer of the Wizards movie, which was shot in between the second and third season. And at the time for the Emmys in 2000, okay, in 2009, Wizards won an Emmy for the second season of the show in 2009. And then in 2010, the show was nominated again for an Emmy, but so was the movie. And if the movie won, they felt like Murrieta would get a win and it'd be more of a sign to Disney like, "Hey, don't fire him, please. He's good." However, if the show won, then Murrieta wouldn't really get that trophy. They wouldn't really get to convince Disney that same way. But anyways, in 2010, the movie won, and Disney still let him go. And a lot of people say that the 4th season is bad because of that, because they let him go, because he was a key executive producer for that show. However, I actually do like the 4th season, and not because it's the only season of the show where not the only, the season 3 is like that too, but it's one of the only seasons where I was, like, actually old enough to be aware of what was happening, um, because I was so young at the time when the show first started, but it wasn't until, like, 2009, 2010 when I really got into the show like that. And the show also talks about the finale of the show where, like, we all know how the show ended. Alex became the family wizard, Justin got to be headmaster of WizTech, and Max got the substation. Originally, the creators did not like that ending, like, they still don't to this day. They had a different ending, which would tie back into the whole Future Harper episode, where Harper would be reading a book to, like, the children and saying, like, "And they lived happily ever after, the end." Now, I'm actually gonna play, like, devil's advocate. I don't know if I'm using that phrase correctly, but I'm gonna agree with Disney, basically. I don't think that I think Disney went the right direction for the 4th season and for the finale, because if the executives of Wizards had gotten their way, then the finale we would have gotten for Wizards would have been like, "And they lived happily ever after, the end." Harper reading a book to the kids, and first of all, that doesn't really feel very New York at all, and it also doesn't feel like very Wizards. I actually do prefer the ending that they would like, that they do have, because I think it's unique. Because the ending with the story and Harper, that feels very cliché. Like, I feel like tons of TV shows end that way. Tons of TV shows end with graduations, tons of TV shows end with characters moving away, but how many shows do you know end with a wizard competition like that? So, yeah, I'm thinking that the executives thought that the Harper one, with Harper reading the book, that finale was unique, and then the finale with, Harper the finale that we got was they thought that the finale that we got was uncreative and cliché or whatever, when really it was the opposite way, in my opinion. Um, they talked about how Selena's mom was very good. Um, like, she wasn't pushing Selena into this career, into this life, and said, "Hey, Selena, at any time, if you feel too much pressure, if you wanna leave, we'll leave." But Selena was enjoying it so much, and she was so happy, and her mother was a very good person. Um, they talked about how Selena had one of the easiest times with Disney out of anybody ever, because a lot of people, like, they felt very constricted and tied down with that Disney image, but Selena was just very, very good. Um, and yeah, she's a good person, she's a nice person, but Selena also didn't really have to deal with a lot of the issues that, like, Raven had to deal with. Like, Selena didn't have to deal with racism. Well, I'm sure she did because she's Latina, but she didn't have to deal with, like, the Black racism, which is a lot stronger in my opinion. She also didn't have to deal with, like, being judged for your body for being too overweight like Raven did. She didn't have to deal with, being queer like Raven and Miley had to deal with. And that's another thing when it comes to Disney and the whole image. When people say Disney stars gone crazy, and it's a lot of them were just the craziness is just that they weren't straight, and people are like, "Oh, look at them." And it's just, man, I feel for them. But Selena is straight, so I felt like people are like, "Selena is good because she's straight." And I mean, yeah, she's a nice person, does good things, doesn't break the rules. And Miley, yeah, she's provocative and breaks the rules. But Raven wasn't provocative, and she was given all that mostly just because she was plus size and not straight. and black also. Can't forget that. Okay, and here there was a weird glitch with my book because I read it on audiobook. So I was listening to the Wizards chapter, but in between the chapter, like the Wizard story ends, but the chapter is still going on and it starts talking about like the Jonas Brothers time on Disney, but the title is still under the Wizards chapter. I thought that was weird. But after I like logged out and then went back in, the book fixed itself. So the Wizards chapter is all Wizards and the Jonas chapter is all Jonas. But just to say, oh yeah, it also took Disney was a little upset with Selena because it took her so long to start like making music with them because she was so focused on acting, which I feel like is where she really, really thrives. I do like her music, but I think she's much, much, much better as an actress. But it took her 2 years to sign with the record label, and Disney was not really happy about that. They wanted her singing right away. And it also took she didn't wanna be a solo act, she wanted to be in a band, and Disney kinda made a compromise, so it was Selena Gomez and The Scene, so she got her band, and then but they got, like, the name Selena, you know? But yeah, anyways, on to the Jonas, the Jonai. Okay, there's not more chapters left, it's just the Jonas Brothers, and then the next chapter, and then alright, because 'cause I've been talking for, like, 2 hours now, I don't wanna keep you guys too long, I know it's, like, a weeknight. But I'm also in the Eastern Standard Time, so it's 9 here. I'm sure people in California, it's only like 6, and you're like, "I got all day." Okay, what? I'm saying because, like I said, I'm looking at my notes, and I'm just, like, confused about some of the stuff I said. Um, alright, the Jonas Brothers guest starred on Hannah Montana. They had to wear purity rings, you know, portray the image of perfection, and I guess at the time, there was this fear for, like, young teen pop acts were being too sexual at the time, because this is the time of, like, Chris Brown, okay? So keep that in mind. Um, so there was, like, a really, really thing about Disney, like, trying really, really hard to, like, make their acts, especially, like, the boys well, the girls too, but, like, they're worried about the boys being too sexual, so they gave them the purity rings. Um They talked about how Jordan Sparks lashed out at Russell Brand for making fun of her purity ring that she also had. Um, and Russell Brand deserved it because honestly, that man is not a jerk. I mean, that man is a jerk. E- Everything he did to Katy Perry, please, please. Ah, I mean, I know Katy Perry is not really, people don't really like her right now, but what he did to her was just not good. Um, oh, apparently the Jonas Brothers were supposed to have like a spy-themed TV show, but it got canceled. And each letter of their last name would stand for like an initial, like it would be an acronym, their name. Like it would be like Junior Operative Ninjas Acting Stealthy. I don't know what the acronym was, but it was something like that. And it would just basically tell you, hey, the Jonas Brothers are spies. But yeah, that got canceled, and rightfully so. Also, the TV show that they did end up with should have gotten canceled. Um, at least they gave us LA Baby. I don't know, when it came to the Jonas Brothers, they should have just stick to their music. They didn't really need it the music and camp rock, that's it. Their TV show really wasn't that necessary. There we go, Junior Operative Network Operatives Networking as Spies. Yes. Um Okay, so the boys ended up making $9,000 for the first season, each episode for the first season of their show, and then they got a 5% increase for the next season. Um, Their parents were good. That's what I have in my notes. Bad actors. I also have that in my notes. Did I think they were bad actors, or did the book say they were bad actors? I don't know. But either way, they should have just stuck to their singing, in my opinion. That's where the money was at for them, anyways. Um, so earlier shows like Phil of the Future was never submitted for an Emmy Award, which was weird because earlier shows like Lizzie McGuire and Even Stevens were. But anyways, the Jonas Brothers show was submitted for an Emmy Award, and it was nominated there alongside like Wizards and iCarly and Hannah. We all know it would never win. Every time that happened, that lineup of Disney and Nickelodeon shows for Emmys, it was usually Wizards that won anyways. Um, Hannah Montana made all the money, Wizards won all the awards, and iCarly got all of the high ratings on TV. So it was just like at that time, the late 2010s, late 2000s, early 2010s, those three shows were just the triad. Um, 2009 Talent 101. Okay, Disney had a lot of media training for their stars, and media training is basically training you as a star whenever you're out in public, giving interviews, responding in appropriate ways to make yourself look approachable, make yourself look squeaky clean, not cursing, not being, not belching, not being inappropriate, just being very clean and cookie cutter or whatever. Um, and that for Disney, it was mandatory. And like Disney and Nickelodeon both had the what is it? What am I saying? They both had what is the phrase I'm thinking of? I said it, I just forgot it. Oh my gosh, I need your help. Okay. Um, I'm blanking out because I just said the phrase. But basically, anyways, they both media training, yes. So Disney and Nick both had media training, but for Disney it was mandatory, but for Nickelodeon it wasn't. Um, and it was called Talent 101. Okay. So remember how I said there were 2 chapters of the book that I was just not excited about? Like I just dreading them from the beginning. The first one was High School Musical, well, both of the chapters of High School Musical. The second part of the book, which was also the ending pretty much, is Demi Lovato's story. Okay, so we all know that a lot of child stars do not have a good time with like during their time on their networks, on their shows, on their like doing the thing. A lot of them are in situations where they're like forced to be in it, so they would never enjoy it anyways. But Demi's story is just tragic, and I knew it was tragic because of how many documentaries does Demi have? Like a new one every year. Come on. But anyways, um Demi had a Dallas Cowboy mother, who and an abusive father, and the mother, well, both of them were trying. I don't know if it was so much the dad, but the mother was trying really, really hard to make her kids stars. And Demi, she was good at acting and singing, which is true. Not Miley. Demi Lovato is a really, really good singer, but she's also a good actress, a good actor too. They are also a good actor. Sorry, pronouns. Um, they were in the Barney show with Selena Gomez, and Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato were childhood friends for a very, very long time, both before Disney and during most of their time on Disney. But Taylor Swift ruined that. Anyways, um, Oh, I can use both pronouns? Okay, good. So, people Demi was in a show called As the Bell Rings, and people who were on set, like, working with Demi on that show, they noticed that something is off with Demi, like, mentally, like, she's just not in the right state, um, mentally, like, something is really, really wrong, and this was around the time when she was auditioning for Disney and people were, like, scouting her out, um, but people noticed that Demi was not mentally stable, I guess, and lots of people had doubts about her being a star just because knowing the pressures that come with it, they don't know if Demi will be able to withstand that pressure. But anyways, Miley auditioned. I mean, Demi. Why I keep okay? So because Demi was best friends with Selena Gomez, they went to a taping. A taping of an episode of Wizards of Waverly Place. Demi sat in the audience and she ended up belting Christina Aguilera's. Remember how I said Christina Aguilera is like such a top-notch singer? Demi ended up belting Ain't No Other Man, one of Christina's hardest songs and one of her biggest singles, at the top of her lung at a Wizards taping. And the executives were like, "Who is this?" And from there, her career just took off. Um, Disney, first of all, wanted Demi to be in the Jonas TV show, and that is not happening. But then she got her own show. She got Sunny with a Chance and Camp Rock. I know Camp Rock happened first. Um, they talked about, and then the people who worked with her, like throughout these various projects, they talked about how there were signs of like an eating disorder with Demi. They talked about how what did I write? Why is it okay? I'm sorry, because I just wrote some mess. Did I say Taylor Lautner couldn't sing or dance? Why am I talking about him? Anyways, um, oh, well, I think they're talking about okay, because this is the part about Camp Rock. So basically, they just wanted Joe. They didn't want Nick or Kevin. But eventually they fought to have all three of them and also Demi in it, and then that became a big success. Um, they filmed the movie in the fall in Canada, and like we learned from the Cheetah Girls movie, it's cold up there. Um, and that movie is supposed to be like filmed at a camp in summer, so the kids must have been freezing. Poor kids. Poor Allison Stoner. Allison Stoner was not happy. One of the kids got their chin hurt. It was just not it was just not it. Um, Demi and Selena, they went to film the Princess Protection Program movie together, and during that time, like, you could really see their friendship. Um, this was also the time that Miley and Mandy were mocking Selena and Demi in their YouTube stuff, their little YouTube show that they had, and, I guess drama between Miley and Selena amplified because they were both really the biggest stars of their time on Disney. And it's weird because Miley was seen as like the bad girl. She was so provocative and out there, and Selena was seen as the good girl and nice and sweet when their characters were the opposite. Like Alex was so rude and disrespectful and snarky and didn't follow the rules, and Miley Stewart was well, I mean, they tried to make Miley like the good girl, but as the show progressed, Miley became more and more of a diva. And like Miley, the character on the show, she became more of a diva, and it got to the point where everybody in her personal life was terrified of her, especially in the last season. They were scared of Miley Stewart. But yeah, um, where are we? Okay, here we're talking about just drama, petty high school drama between Miley, Demi, Selena, and the Jonas Brothers. Um, Selena was in the Jonas Brothers "Burnin' Up" music video. Brenda Song dated Trace Cyrus, Miley's older brother. Um, Kevin Jonas was Team Demi and Selena. They filmed the "Send It On" campaign all together, all of them. Um, there were fights on set with Selena. Demi couldn't separate herself from her characters. Oh, wait, that's something else. Okay, so back to Demi. Demi was having a hard time, which is nothing new. Demi has lived a pretty hard life. She couldn't when she was filming, she couldn't separate herself from her characters. So when her characters were happy, she was really, really happy. Remember that grin? Like extreme. And then when her characters were sad, she was really, really sad and really, really felt for them. Um, and she had a huge workload really, really fast because she had to juggle the Camp Rock stuff and the Sunny with a Chance stuff, and also touring as her characters. Um, I guess the Jonas Brothers helped Demi with her debut album, and there was censoring in Demi's music. The album did fairly well, debuted at number 2, and then her sophomore album, her second one, debuted at number 1. And Demi was very unhappy and had very dark interests. Um, whereas Sunny, the character that she played on Sunny with a Chance, was very upbeat and positive. Okay, Demi, she had an eating disorder. Her mother didn't care about her health. The mother ignored all the signs. Um, and apparently, Demi, unfortunately, this is gonna get pretty like deep for a little bit. So she was R-worded at 15, drinking at 13, finished high school at 16. Because at this point, there's something you can do in the entertainment industry where if you're a child, you can kind of like take a test to opt out of school, like opt out of school early, basically. And then she was doing like hardcore drugs, coke at 17. And Demi had cutting marks on her arm at Miley's Sweet 16 party in 2008. And it was so obvious to people that Demi, especially behind the scenes, it was so obvious to people that Demi Lovato was going through such a hard time mentally, just dealing with a lot. And so, a singer named Jordan Pruitt, who was also on a tour with Demi, noticed that Demi was going through all these hard times headlining at the tour. And Jordan also sued Disney for making her work with a producer who abused her, but that's something else. Who abused Jordan, not Demi, but that's a different thing. But anyways, Joe broke up with Demi. There was touring. Demi got high on Adderall. She beat up one of her backup dancers in Colombia while on tour. And then Demi, that's the same time that Demi left the tour and went to rehab and went to a treatment center where she was diagnosed as bipolar and had ADHD. And then Disney immediately cut ties with Demi when that happened, unlike with what Miley and Gabriella, Vanessa, where when Miley had her early controversies, Disney stood by her. When Vanessa had her controversy, okay, Disney did not stand by her. That's a lie. Why'd you write that? But yeah, With Demi, they just cut ties with her right away because she was just too much for them to handle. And people this is when news broke like wildfire, all the stuff that Demi was going through. And something that I really remember very, very vividly from this book, and that I'll never forget, is the line where it said, people began to realize, I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly. People began to realize that this is more than just Miley Cyrus being provocative. Because that's what Miley was. Miley was just provocative. She wasn't going through any like deep mental issues. She was just provocative. But Demi was going through some serious mental trials and tribulations. She was just going through it, deep, deep, deep depression, deep, deep rooted issues. Whereas everybody was happy. Everybody else on Disney, I mean, I know not everybody had a perfect time, clean, fun, good time on Disney, but most of them, all of them seemed really happy compared to Demi. Demi Lovato's story is the most tragic story to ever come out of Disney Channel, in my opinion. And that's why I wasn't really looking forward to that one chapter of the book. Well, High School Musical also, just because I'm not really into it. But Demi's, I was not looking forward to it at all. And I'm sorry if I bummed you all out too. I know I like to keep it upbeat, but Demi's story, man. No wonder why she keeps releasing documentary after documentary after documentary after You've seen it. I'm not just making it up. She makes so many documentaries about like her life and being a child star. And I know she has one on Disney Plus, I think. But yeah, with Demi leaving Disney, Disney was in scrambles of what to do because the show kind of left on a cliffhanger. It was building up towards like a really good third season, but unfortunately that never came into fruition. Um, but Disney, that's what we got. We got so random because Sunny with the Chance was a show within a show. Disney just decided, hey, let's just take that show within the show and make that a show. And we ended up with So Random, which ended up becoming like a Saturday Night Live for kids. And it kind of brought things full circle with the All New Mickey Mouse Club being one of Disney's first programs, first original programmings. You know, the one with Justin Timberlake and Christina Aguilera and Britney and Ryan. And then with So Random coming out, that kind of brought things full circle because the shows were basically the same. Um, Not basically. I imagine that the All New Mickey Mouse Club is a lot less cringy, but also a lot less nostalgic for me. Just saying, because I was not from that era. Okay, now Disney, now around this time, 2010, 2011, after Miley, Demi, Selena, the Jonas Brothers, the Sprouse Twins, Raven, after all of them have left Disney, Disney has finished being at its commercial peak. You can argue about quality all day long, but in terms of popularity, in terms of money, that stopped happening for Disney. Like Disney stopped being at the top around 2010, 2011, around those years. And then for the entirety of the 2010s, Disney just kept gradually getting less viewers, less money, less everything. And then by the end of the 2010s, like Disney was looking real bleak. And then Disney Plus happened, and then now they're on top again. But the book Disney High, it doesn't really talk about anything after 2010, 2011, after those people I just mentioned, after they left, Disney stops talking about them. The book stops talking about them just because they weren't really vital to Disney's success. If anything, they're just riding the coattails of the success of the people who came before them. Because Disney had perfected the image, and suddenly now in the 2010s, it's not making as many big stars as possible, as much, because there are so many huge, huge, huge stars that came out of Disney in the 2000s, but in the 2010s, I can only name like 3. That's Zendaya, Sabrina Carpenter, and Jenna Ortega. All 3 of them went on to become huge stars. Where and I can't really name that many other from Disney from the 2010s, but from the 2000s, like I can name so many. Vanessa Hudgens, Miley Cyrus, Zac Efron, Selena Gomez, Demi Lovato, Raven Simone, Hilary Duff. Um, it just goes on and on and on. But yeah, that's where the book ends. It does talk a little bit about just a little bit. Um, okay, people really, really thought that Disney Channel would fall apart without Hannah Montana. It didn't collapse, but it definitely wasn't as strong. Um, in 2015, Disney Channel finally had more viewership than Nickelodeon, which was something that they were struggling with for a long time. Because we all know that the two of them just go head to head all the time. Um, what else do I have here? Even though Disney had a lot of success, they never ever repeated the success of Hannah Montana. And they never would because that was a lightning in a bottle type of moment. Like that type of success will never happen ever again. That's one in a million. No pun intended, because that's a Hannah Montana song. Um, in 2012, Disney Channel grossed $1 billion internationally. It had over 430 million homes worldwide had access to the Disney Channel. Um, However, in the mid 2010s, the channel began to lose viewerships to YouTube because kids were watching their favorite YouTubers on YouTube instead, aka me. But yeah, there was a Lizzie McGuire reboot that was in talks, but it failed because Hilary Duff wanted to do a more adult version of Lizzie McGuire, like where Lizzie's character would be nowadays, kind of like what the iCarly reboot ended up being like. But that failed. And now, talking back to full circle moments, Disney is now back to where it started off. Where now, when it comes to Disney Channel, a lot of people, yeah, they think about like the classic shows and movies and everything, but a lot of people mostly just think back to the theme parks, or either that or the network Disney is just focusing more on its theme parks. Because I just wrote back to theme park. I don't remember what that means, but I'm thinking it could be either or. But yeah, those are all of my notes. I talked for a long time. I know. Um, what do you guys think? Do you think I broke down this book well enough? Because I talked about a lot. I'm going to take my sip and wait for people to comment. I was just so sad after that Demi Lovato part of the book. Um, I thought it was cool of Miley Cyrus for the 4th season of Hannah Montana. Like Disney wanted to replace the executive producers who were there since the beginning, but Miley was like, "Nah, I'm only coming back for a 4th season if you guys keep the same producers who were there since day one." Because this was after Party in the USA, so Miley had real power to do something like that. I'm glad she did, even though everybody was hating on her at the time. Um, I didn't mention Allie and AJ, but they were there during the time. They were fun. I like them. Um, what else did I not mention? I think I got everything. Um, They mentioned that Glee took when Glee happened, it took a lot of the audience that watched High School Musical with them because Glee started shortly after High School Musical ended. Um, yeah, I'm just mentioning little things here and there that I forgot to talk about, but I think I got most of the stuff. Yeah, I don't think that I really missed out on anything. All right. Whew. Okay, I'm gonna call it a night. It's 9:30 here. I've been talking for 2.5 hours. But thank you for joining my chat. Thank you for listening to me talk about a book. And I definitely want to do live streams more often. Um, Usually I do a live stream. Well, I wanted to do this one just because this book was so long, and I tried several times to make a video about this book, but the book is way too long. Okay, will I ever cover more Nickelodeon, Henry Danger, or any of that stuff? Yeah, I mean, I actually, because I know the new Henry Danger movie came out. I want to talk about that. I want to make a video on that. Um, but first I have to watch it, so give me time. I haven't seen it yet. It just came out. And I have Paramount Plus too, so I can watch it. I didn't get the time to do it yet. But I will. And also the new Thundermans show, I wanted to talk about that too. And also, Malcolm in the Middle is coming out on Disney Plus. It's having a reboot, but I'm just gonna wait until that show comes back. It's only gonna be 4 episodes, but I'm gonna wait until that comes out. Um, but yeah, um, I tried several times over the past few months to make a video about this book, but because the book is so long and talks about so much, like, look, how long is this live stream? 2.5 hours? That book was so long. And the video would have been just as long as this, and editing would have been too much for me. So I just thought it was better to do a live stream. But yeah, I talked for a long time. I'm just happy my voice didn't give out because usually before, when I would do a live stream, after 2 hours, it would give out and I'd just be too weak and my throat would be too sore. But I'm good now. All right, I'm going to call it a night, guys, okay? I'm going to send you guys a message first because that's how I love to end every stream. Okay. Oh, wait, no. I don't wanna write that. I wanna write this word. Okay. But yeah, I do plan on doing live streams more often. I'm thinking of doing one, like, at least once a month, maybe, but I have to find things that I'm like that I can talk about for a long time. Like this book, it was the perfect thing to talk about for this long. Um, okay. Still writing. And if you, like, joined in during the middle of the stream, that's perfectly fine. Because once it's over, it's gonna be, like, uploaded as a video, and then you can go back from the very beginning and then listen to me talk and ramble, and then basically catch up on everything. Um, yeah. And the book may be, like maybe a few things I'm misremembering, but the gist of it, most of it was alright. Oh my gosh, I didn't talk about how Brenda Song wanted to do, like, a more mature role during her time on Disney, like, separate from it, and then they were like, "No, you're London Tipton, don't do that." Whatever. Okay, let me look at my message that I wrote. Also, go listen to this book if you really, really want to. Go listen to this book, I highly recommend it because I know y'all are Disney fans, or at least a fan of me. And if you wanna support Disney or me, go listen to this book on Audible if you can, or go buy it at your local bookstore. Um, Because it was a good time for me, and I hope that I broke it down in a way yeah, I hope that I broke it down in a way that makes you want to read the book, but also not in a way that, like, spoils everything. Um Ooh, typo. Okay, I'm sending my message, and then I'm gonna call it quits for tonight. Yeah, okay, I wrote my message. I just said, "Thank you all so much for joining my stream. I'm gonna call it a night, but I'm glad you all can join. Go read this book." Okay, you still think the first season of Jonas is more enjoyable than the second? I guess. Maybe the music's better in the second season. Maybe that's why I like it better. LA baby. But yeah, I'm going to bed. Good night, everybody. All right.